lot about the self in the book. I mean, like identity, self, mindfulness, consciousness. And then suddenly you drop a bomb. You say self is an illusion. And that is where I'm still having, hard time to process. And I thought this will be one of the questions that I'll definitely ask Arna in the event. Why do you call self as an illusion? I mean, just like before that, you were saying so much about identity, and I mean that's a really difficult topic to grab. So could you please shed some light on that?
Sure. See, this book is entirely about the self, right? The central theme of this book is self. As you said, I talked a lot about I spent a lot of time categorizing self, giving you insights about the self. And at the end of it, I say it's an illusion. So let me clarify here. Let's categorize self broadly into three main categories. Number one, let's say you have your physiological self, your biological self, right? The one that we just discussed here. All your cells getting replaced every 7 to 10 years, and the nature is trying to maintain a particular format or a shape. You do have your body. I mean, I'm not saying that body is not present. That's not an illusion. You very much do have a body. I also have a body. Physically, this self is not an illusion. That's not what I'm talking about. The second category is your social self. Social self is also there. I mean, it's not an illusion either. But it's more of your thing. It's not you. It's like, what is a social self? Social self is like the identity that you have. Your name, for instance, your religion, maybe your country, your ethnicity, and all that. You can say that's it's my name, it's my country. But it's not me. It's like a tag given to you for your recognition in the society, right? Your identification in the society. The third type of self, which I'm more interested in, it's a psychological self. That is where I want to, kind of deconstruct that and show you this doesn't really exist. The way you think about yourself doesn't really exist. What you call yourself as I, the ego, it sits right in the prefrontal cortex of your brain. I put anesthesia, you can turn on and off, you can play with it, right? You can have your psychological self dissolve into the outside environment, and you can have a state of non-duality. But this is out of scope of the book. But I'm saying, why is this psychological self an illusion? I'll give you a quick example, just a very layman example. Say you are sitting in a theater. Obviously, the theater is dark, and you're watching your favorite movie. Your favorite characters are there in the movie, and you're so involved in the movie that temporarily you lose sense of your own self. You feel that you are no longer here. You're inside the movie. Maybe you're playing one of the characters. All of a sudden, something happened to the screen. Lights are on in the theater. And all of a sudden, you see the sense of the self has returned back. You can see people are looking at you, and you're looking at all the people. Suddenly, you're seeing that someone is looking at you. You feel like you're being looked at, as if you're looking at those people from behind your eyes or behind your forehead, as if you sit behind your forehead, right? As if you live there. All of a sudden, this sense has come. A moment ago, when you're lost in a movie, this particular sense of self was not there. All of the time when we move around, we actually keep on losing and gaining that self. So as a matter of fact, this self is a product of your thought. Self really is a thought. It's not real. It's the way you think about yourself. It's just a thought. Now, why I want to show this to everyone, that this is a thought, this is not real, because we tend to cling to it. You had a bad memory, bad past maybe, and you are so engrossed in it that you want to cling to it. You never want to give it up, right? Never want to move on. Whatever happened to you in the childhood, you rather find satisfaction clinging to it, and therefore you suffer all your life. If you deconstruct and conceptualize self and you see there is nothing to be found, you basically try to move on. So that's the whole purpose of calling it an illusion, Lavanya.
Got it. Very nicely explained. So midst of us today, we have Dr. Maria, Dr. Maria Stevens, who has a degree in psychology. Let's try to pull her in this discussion
Mhm.
and hear a few thoughts from her. Dr. Maria Stevens, is it
Hi, good morning.
good
Good morning.
morning?
Can you hear me?
Good
Yes,
morning. Good
yes.
morning.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit confusing. Sorry, I was late. We have time changes here in California, so I thought I still have an hour. Then I realized, oops. Well, anyway, I'm here. It's quite interesting. Congratulations, by the way, for the book.
Thank
Thank
you.
I
you.
kind of feel bad because I'm here and it's the discussion is very, very, very interesting, very insightful. And I wish I have read the book before I show up. So we're talking about the psychology. What would you like to me to elaborate here? Because of I think Mr. Gupta there already have done a great job in explaining his thesis.
So, you already said that the discussion is interesting, and Arnab was talking about the self as an illusion. So, do you agree with what Arnab says?
Disturbance in the background. I think Madhu, if you can turn on off your mute, go to mute, I guess.
Thank you, Madhu.
Okay. When we're looking at the psychology, I always think about the human behavior, right? And human behavior, we behave because we start by thinking. We think certain things and we base certain ways. And of course, our thinking is influenced by our experiences. So we shape all this thing into this, what Mr. Gupta said, the identity, who we are, what we think we are. And we go by that identity and create certain quote unquote reality, right? In our minds, we have this reality. And here, sometimes we always said, what you thinks, how you feel. Your feelings are not facts, but feeling is extremely, extremely powerful. If you feel stupid, you will not do certain things, even though they're not facts. And so what we are having when we make a decision to change or to go into certain place where we want to be, we fight with that feelings. I work with a lot of executives who are very, very successful in one area, like a career, and extremely, extremely pitiful in other areas, like the love lives. Usually, most of my clients are female. So I have two practices. One practice dealing with international students, and the other practice dealing with executives. And if you hear my accents, I'm not, even though I'm an American, I'm actually from Indonesia. So in both areas of these practices, my job is literally to question their feelings, because this is like the backbones of our decision making. So until they understand that they can change the feelings is like the winds, whatever comes and hit and then it disappears. I mean, we can feel, I don't know, I'm sure some of you have experienced grief. Grief, for instance, it doesn't stay still for certain period of time. At some point disappear, and then all it takes is the wind blow a certain way. And then you start crying. And then you back into that quote unquote reality. And I think when we're looking at the executive decisions in the workplace, now we have to work with all the players, right? We have the structures of the organizations. We have we have the feelings that we have the relationships we have with our colleagues, and all these things play along. Now, if we want to shift and to change certain ways, I actually respect your thesis and your statements in that you don't need to change, because you can elaborate, you can expand. But I think the expansion itself is change.
Correct.
But I think if I could elaborate, it's what you don't want to is to change the core of you.
Core.
Right. And at some point you will change. I think humans are by nature changing. We're changing. The only thing that constant in our lives is change. We get older, we get, wiser, we get crazier, or depending, but if you don't go up, it's always go down. So we go either go up north or down south. If we getting better at certain thing or getting worse at certain thing, or both, depending on what are we talking about. Like I said, some executives are making an amazing decision in business, and then making horrible decision in relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's comes from different core, but having two different base of feelings. So what I really appreciate from your book is, or at least that from your presentation, is the idea that no, hang on to who you are. Now, find something that edifies you, that makes you feel like you belong here in this world, doing something that God supposedly sent you here so that you can have that sense of fulfillment. And when you do that, you are changing into the positive directions. You become more fulfilled. You become, in America, people in here are very, very obsessed with happiness, right? You become happy. But again, happiness is feelings. You can happy in 1 second, and the next second you get whatever feelings, because it comes and goes. So the sense of the illusion is the fact that you cannot grasp to it. It only real when it's when you're holding on to it until the next feelings, until the next you. But the troubling facts about this is that we are making a lot of our decisions based on that. And as a psychologist, we keep saying, don't do that.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Maria, for your excellent insights. I think what Dr. Maria is trying, I think it is a mere extension of what Arnab you were saying, but in a different way, that feelings have been incorporated in this theory itself. So thank you, Dr. Maria, for your wonderful...
You're welcome.
Thanks for expanding that. Just one line I just want to add here.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Maria. So, as you said, I mean, don't hang to any of your feelings. I mean, as you said, feelings come and go, right? It can be a happy feeling, a sad feeling. You can feel terrible one day, the next moment you're feeling something else. It's constantly changing all the time. But we actually get identified with, cling to those feelings too easily, right? What I'm saying is you can actually separate yourself from those feelings, and you can probably just witness what is happening with you. Rather than getting involved into your feelings, you can simply separate and get the cinematic view of what you are. Once you start to witness your consciousness, you basically see what the drama is happening. Instead of getting a role on the drama, just see the drama. Be the audience of yourself. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Detachment is so damn difficult.
Yeah, and I just want to add, something on Arnab. So Arnab is my good friend. So we both work in the same company. So there are a few things that we both are aligned with. So that is very obvious because we work at the same place. So I'm really happy for Arnab for his new book. So it seems very interesting. So I would definitely want to buy a copy of it and read it Arnav. It's really good that some when I was an upcoming author a few years before, I didn't have the people to support me at the very beginning stages. So I got some inspiration from some of my good friends, and the way I have published my book in such an environment where there was more of friction and traction than support. But down the line, in the recent years, the situation has changed. There are people who are encouraging new authors, and there are good authors who are evolving. Like a few years before, the kind of situation that I had gone through. So I'm seeing the same thing happening with you. So I'm sure your concept is also a well recognized, good concept. So
Looks
I'm
like
really happy for
looks
it.
like we are finally in the right group. We are getting
Yeah,
encouraged.
yeah, that I